Hey folks, hope things are going well for you today or tonight or whatever time it is for you. I'm sitting here at the port of Anchorage, watching the snow squalls coming in off of the open water that's out there. It is, I guess, mid to late March. I think it's in the late teens as far as the dates are concerned. We made it through the Ides of March, even though Caesar did not. And you know, there's this meme out there that that men 30 to 60 think about the Roman Empire far more than they actually should. Well, I'm not sure what it is about the Roman Empire that's something that we are thinking about more than we actually should. I think it was an interesting time for humanity, and I think a lot of people see parallels today to what had happened, especially during the demise of the Roman Empire. And I kind of think of like Nero as Caesar on the throne, and how things basically fell apart for the Roman Empire because of him, and the fact that he didn't give a crap about the people. He didn't give a crap about the military. He was one of those effete snobs who decided that the existence of the people was there to serve him, rather than the realization, of course, that the position of emperor was created so that power could be consolidated enough in order to properly serve the people. But of course, we have parallels to that today. I mean, you look at so many positions of power, and they've lost that sense of the reason that those positions exist, that they're there to serve, not there to be served. And I don't care what political party or persuasion or whatever you are or that you belong to. It's supposed to be that way for everybody that's there. And they're all taking advantage of it. I mean, look at how they exempted themselves from the insider trading rules, and then they're out there making millions, sometimes hundreds of millions, off of trading on the information that they glean from their positions, and positions that hold the vote for some of the things that they're then trading upon. It's grotesque in the extreme. And so this morning I was thinking back to my time in the military, and every male member of my family up until my generation served in the military. It was a thing that was what you did. Now, I've got brothers, and the rest of them didn't serve, and that's fine. I was the one to serve. I had another cousin who served. Shout out to Dennis. And he was in the Navy. I was in the Air Force. But I had so many friends go in the military, all the branches. I had friends in the Marine Corps, friends in the Army, friends in the Navy, friends in the Air Force, and even the Coast Guard. Sorry, Troy, I just have to harass you. But, all of the services are necessary, and they fill a niche, and they protect the country and our way of life, right? At least that's what they're supposed to do. And the reason is because of this deep feeling. The reason that we serve is this deep feeling that we're there to do for others, maybe in ways that they could not do for themselves, if that makes sense. And that we're willing, and are willing still, to put our lives on the line in order to preserve what we have created from, forever, back down through, the different writings of the founding fathers, and even before, where you look at seriously, there's a guy doing donuts behind me. Jeez. Where you look at Adam Smith, right? Wealth of Nations. And then you think about the Iroquois Confederacy, who basically set up a centralized federal government, and then multiple Iroquois states that accomplished their own local governance, but came underneath a federation, which, of course, we modeled upon in order to create our federal government and the states. Same thing with the Algonquins. Same thing with the Cherokee Federation. And we patterned ourselves based on those learnings that we had pulled together from these European philosophers who had thought so deeply about what freedom meant to them, having suffered under the kings and emperors of Europe, and what they described as being free. And then the folks that came over here into North America and saw people living in that state of freedom. For the most part, of course, everything has been, exaggerated and argued over the years. But sufficeth to say that we amalgamated all of those learnings to create what became the most powerful nation on the planet. And the fact that the peoples themselves slowly learned over the past couple hundred years not only how to get along, but how valuable each and every other group that became part of this experiment was to the overall success of the experiment, to the point where we're at today. And I mean, I was watching that show where the black gentleman does the DNA analysis, and then he tells people, oh, you've got this in your heredity, this in your heredity, and here's your cousins, and here's your whatevers, right? Love that show, by the way. I can't think of his name off the top of my head. But people are blown away because they're white folks that find out that they're part black and they're part Native American, and then there's black folks that find out that they're part white and they're part Native American, and then there's Native American folks who find out that they're part white and part black, and the realization happens that we are so much more interbred and interconnected than most folks have even have an awareness of. And it makes me smile every time that I see the lights coming on in people's eyes and their body language and how it changes them, and you know that they're never going to be the same after that. And it's very very heartwarming to see that happen. But the fact, that I'm kind of getting back to is, when I was in the military, there was people from every walk of life represented, and some groups were represented really more than others. As a percentage of population, of course, there was a heck of a lot more white folks, but even at that period of time when I was in, the military had transitioned, and there was a very large contingent of minorities in the military, to the point where it was probably close to being half of the personnel that I served with were from one minority group or another. And whether they were Hispanic or Native American or black folks, or you name it, there was just it was just Pacific Islanders. There were so many different folks, and we all got along, and we all did things together. We had a great time, and they all came from a background of that ethos, that they were there because they believed that they were protecting what had been created. We all knew that none of it was perfect, and that on the outside of the military, things were still going through the transitions that maybe we're kind of at today. We're moving more and more that way, aren't we? It seems to me that we are. Look at, my children are multiracial. I was thinking of one of my nephews. He's and his wife are going to have a son this week, and I'm very excited for them. But he's, of course, my younger sister's son, so he has all the mix-up of what bloodlines that my sister contains, and then he happens to be his father's line was Middle Eastern of a couple of different lines, and his wife is Spanish and mostly Filipina. And so, I mean, what is their kid going to be? Well, of course, he's an American. He's an American. I guess you put it that way. It's kind of silly to say, but it's true. And exciting. I'm very excited for them anyway, having their kids. But again, the people that I served with that are now in their 50s and 60s came at this idea from the idea of service, saying that, we want to create a better world, a better place for our children to live and coexist. And it made me think of a saying from Seneca, which is, life without the courage for death is slavery. Life without the courage for death is slavery. And when you think about that and you really kind of boil that down in your brain, and after it kind of chews around in the gray for a little while, you come away with the understanding that without risk and without people risking their lives, we would literally all be slaves. Whether that's literally being in chains or indentured servitude or serfdom to a noble liege, which were never noble, or just slavery to the state itself. And it made me wonder sometimes if we are that slave to the state. And it made me wonder about my mentality from the time that I was 20 and joined the military to serve, and then where I'm at today, and how much of that had been done in freedom, really based upon the value structure of those in leadership that I served. And how often have I served those who were righteous in their servitude? And how many were not? One of the things that I looked at was, in the past, presidents did not, and people in Congress for that matter either, did not increase their wealth significantly while in office. But boy, that sure hasn't been the case since George Bush Sr. took office. In fact, the previous presidents to George Bush Sr., Reagan and Carter, both lost significant amounts of their wealth during the time that they served. They served. Ford didn't lose any money, and I don't know much really about him other than, you see him being a klutz, boinking his head because he was so tall when he was walking into Air Force One. That one still sticks in my brain. I think back from before my time to presidents like Eisenhower, who lived an entire life of servitude to the people. And folks, today it's different. You look at so many of the folks in Congress, and they get in there, and their net worth, for most of them, is like less than $1 million, their personal net worth. And they'll walk out of there years later, and somehow during that time, and we know how, have become multi-millionaires. It sickens me. Anyway, this is getting long, but I hope you understand what I'm talking about. And I pray every day that people that truly want to serve start setting themselves up to serve without the idea that they're going to get wealthy because of that service. Anyway, that's enough. Enough of that. I guess I'll chat with you all later.